Hey everybody, it's Jaha Zainabu and welcome to Storytime with Jaha Zainabu 17. Thank you for being here. And can I just say here that 17 days straight of hour-long story times, hour-long uh, one-sided conversations about writing is a big deal, and I am acknowledging myself for that, for showing up for myself, for my word, and showing up to you. Because there have been days that it would have been easy for me to say, you know what, not today. Today is one of those days. How about that? I am not going to begin with a random story today. I said that I was going to bring that back yesterday, and I did yesterday, but I think that I will just be sharing so many stories throughout this video that I won't do that today. Today, it's late again today, and I needed to film this late today because I needed this to come off with me more relaxed and not giving the smoke that I felt in the day. I am not depressed. I am not in some manic episode. I am not in any of that. I am not sad. I am not any of those things. I am I'm an artist. I am an artist today. I'm an artist every day. How about that? I am an artist who lives primarily from her art. And that is not always sexy. The truth is that is not often sexy. That probably is only sexy when you see Instagram posts of writers on the beach in the writing session, or a writer, on stage, or something like that. But there is another side. There is a real life side that is not so pretty. It's not ugly. It just is what it is. And you should know that too before you take on this endeavor to be a writer, to be an artist, to be a creator. You should know that there is an everyday that does not look like it looks in the movies. I know you know that. And you should be. I wrote notes today because I was like, I didn't want this video to be a big rant. I didn't want that. And I will probably get ranty, but I will stay inside of the real life of an artist, the real life of a writer, of this writer. And that's all I promise you. There is no what every single solitary writer goes through. There isn't that. I am giving you my journey. And I do believe that most writers can relate to it. Does my everyday look like every other writer's everyday? Absolutely not. Because I'm me, and every other writer is every other writer, and you're you. But I do believe that every other writer will be able to see herself inside of my story. I believe that you will be able to see yourself inside of my story. I think that as a writer, I don't like the word should. I said that yesterday. I don't like when people should on me, and I don't like to should on other people. So I'm not going to use the word should, but I think that it is important for us to be able to write our real life every day. Like, what is going on? And sometimes we will have to paint a picture that's not so pretty. And in this day, in this Instagram world, in this social media culture, in this filter society, we don't really want to paint pictures that aren't pretty. We want, we are often checking angles, pretty and upsides. We want it to be pretty. We want our image to look nice. We want it to, but it is important that we are able to write our story, the not pretty part. The and not pretty does not mean that it has to be ugly and tragic. Not pretty could just mean that it's a little boring. Not pretty could mean that you're not really balling. Not pretty could mean that you going to that day job. Not pretty could mean all kind of things. And so, but it's important that we write through or write the what so of what is going on in our lives. Even if I didn't say that we have to publish it. I said be able to write it. Be able to tell yourself what so. I think that's important. My real life today is not glamorous. My real life today is not sexy. As I said before, I am a writer and a visual artist who lives from her art. And from time to time, that ain't enough. From time to time, painting sales don't come through fast enough. From time to time, the books don't sell fast enough. And I still gotta live. I still gotta eat. I still gotta pay rent. I still gotta have power. I still gotta. And when I'm in those situations, I said in another video, when I'm in those situations, I get jobs that I can take. Office jobs don't tend to be my jam, so usually back in the day, I used to work for home health agencies, or I would pick up home health clients from word of mouth. It's something that I am passionate about. I think that I'm good at. I care for people. I'm careful with people. I am loving with people. And so I would take those kinds of jobs. But now at 55, I am not as willing or able to do that kind of physical work. The physical work it takes to bend and change an adult or lift an adult from the bed to the chair, to the chair, to the toilet, to the. And so I don't really seek out that kind of work much anymore. These days, I'm more when I am in a situation where I need money, I will apply for like a cleaning job, usually with some cleaning agency or something like that. It's also something that I'm good at. It's also something that I can do alone or with like a teammate, but not something where I'm forced to sit and have a conversation. I don't really feel like having. I can put my headphones on and bust that bathroom down, stuff like that. And so that's where I am today. And so my real life, what's my real life right now? My real life right now is that. My real life right now is rent is due and or coming up. And I need, a job to cover some expenses. And let's see what's going on. On Monday, I had an interview with this cleaning company, And so I sat in the interview. It was a group interview. So we sat in a group interview, and we all talked about how much we loved and adored cleaning. And we were supposed to hear from them by today. So as of, what time is it? 10 something on Friday night. I haven't heard anything, so it doesn't look like I got that job with them. Which, okay, because I live in Atlanta and there are a cajillion cleaning agencies. I was hoping for that one. So I just applied for a few others today. So I applied for some other cleaning agencies, and I have some one company I actually have to do an in-person interview with. You would be like strangely surprised at how many agencies that book people to go into people's homes, and they never like meet you. They never there's no in-person interview. There's just, hey, go to Sandra's house tomorrow and here's the address. So if you are somebody who gets your home cleaned from agencies like that, especially the big ones, I won't say names, if I were you, I would be careful, because these people have not been vetted, mostly. I am telling you that. Okay, but this is not about cleaning. This is about real life. So, there are things we gotta do because, because we gotta do it, because the bills need to be paid. Inside of that, I will say to the writers out there listening, do this work because you love it. Write because you love it. Because sometimes you will have to sacrifice. That's part of it. Sometimes you will have to write in those hours before work, which means getting up early. Or you will have to write during your lunch break, which means you're not connecting with your coworkers if that's a thing to you. Which means you might have to write when you get home from work. Which means you might have to skip the happy hour or the whatever after work. It is something that writing is something that will need your attention. It will need your attention. For me, I don't like to give my projects that I'm working on pauses, because too long a pause for me means I'm probably not going back to that project. So, it will demand your attention, and you will have to sacrifice. Another sacrifice is not really being able to explain to people who are close to you why you are making the sacrifices you are making. Nobody sees it is possible that nobody around you will see how important this thing is but you. They won't, or they might not. And it is probably not something that you will be able to explain. But you have to, not only do you have to respect your writing space or yourself as a writer, people who are close to you are in a position where they also have to respect your space and boundaries. If your writing time is from 3 to 4 or 5, then they can't reach you from 3 to 4, 3 to 5. And they might want to. No, I'm not saying, you can't answer your children's calls. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can't answer your mom's call. I'm not saying that. But maybe. I don't know what it looks like for you. Maybe, though. But it is something that will require your dedication. So just before you take on this, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a serious one. It ain't sexy. Okay. Um, you have to know your why. I don't know your why. Yesterday in Storytime 16, if you haven't seen that video, watch it. In Storytime 16, I talked about why I write. And I gave quotes from some friends why they write. And there are some really good quotes. So if you want to just hear that lesson, then go back to Storytime 16 and check it out. But you have to know your why. If your reason for wanting to be a writer is because you want to get rich, good luck. I mean, I'm not saying that won't happen. It might not, though. And it might not. But it might. But it might not. But you need a why bigger than that. You need a bigger why than money. How much money is rich? I mean, and a warning to those who write to get rich. If you write to get rich, you might write anything to get rich, even things that you don't believe in. What I am really enjoying about my project of my ebook project, my ebook series project. Some of you know, February of this year, 2025, I began an ebook series where I release an ebook once a month on the first of each month. And I will do that until February 2026. So there will be 13 ebooks. And I like that. I'm having a great time with it. One of the things that I like is how immediate like the books come out. I can, for those of you who have been published, you know that it takes 9, 10, 11 months from the time you submit your work to the publishing company until you actually are holding a book in your hand. I like that I can talk about whatever I talk about, and then in 30 days it's coming out. I do like that. I like that. I sell ebooks for $20 and the whole $20 is mine. I like that. I don't split it with a publishing company or nobody. It's mine. There's a dance though that goes along with that. All of the money is mine, but all of the promotion is on me. All of it is on me. So, there's that. But it's part of it. I remember maybe this was around, I don't remember what year it was. But a friend of mine who knows me as a visual artist also had a friend who was like a bigwig in he was a like a set designer, but he didn't actually do like the design work. He was over people who did that and was in a good position. Not he was in the position to hire and bring other designers on, and she thought it would be a good idea and a good opportunity uh, if we met, me and her friend and me, and we did not meet personally, but she had given our numbers. Like I got his number, he got my number. And one night he called me and we had a great conversation. And a conversation that shifted. It was a good life lesson to me. So we talked about art. We talked about what I enjoy painting, my dedication to art, um, and I love painting. I paint every day. I write every day. I paint every day. Um, um, Painting is not my first creative language. Art writing is, but I do love to paint, and am committed to getting better and better, and I am getting better and better. Anyway, the conversation between this guy and me. So we talked about art. We talked about my dedication to art. We talked about a lot of things. Who I am as a woman, mother. Um, and he said something in toward the end of the conversation. He said, "You know, I am in a position to change your life in a lot of ways." Like, this is him talking. He said, like, I could hire you, um, and you would work long hours, and you would make probably more money than you're making right now selling your art on your own. You would make more money than that. Um, and he said, but the thing is, what you would have to give up is too much, and I don't think it's what you really want. And at the time, what I really wanted was to pay my rent, was to be a better provider to my son. Um, that's what I wanted. I wanted some more money in my bank account, in my savings account. That's what I wanted. And so and instead of fighting for no, I want to work. Instead of fighting for that, I just listened to him. And he said, so this job is just a lot of hours, and if the job, and you have to be more dedicated to the job than to your art. And so I was like, but the job is art. The job is painting. The job is, And he said it is, but he said if the job is painting jellyfish for 12, 13 hours a day, you got to paint jellyfish for 12, 13 hours a day. And because you're hungry in your mind, you could tell yourself that, oh, wait a minute, I'll paint jellyfish for 12, 13 hours a day. Then I'll go home. Then I will paint whatever I want to paint. And there are only 24 hours in a day. And I'm still a mom to, at that time, a son who was only in the first grade. And I'm still also a writer. I'm still a human being. I am still a friend. I'm still a daughter, a sister. I'm still these things. And he said, because he said, the only thing that you would really be benefiting is you would get more money. He said, and I just want you to find a way to get more money and paint what you want. And I don't want to destroy that spirit. And while I could have used more money, I appreciated that. And I thought, this is true. I'll just get more money. I mean, sure, easier said than done, but I appreciate that I didn't go down that path. I would have been burnt out of, and burnt out with a 12-hour day, working with a bunch of people, doing something I really didn't really want to do. So it was good. And that it changed my life in a lot of ways. Like, it did. It taught me to be careful with things that I commit to. It taught me that I have to remember to prioritize myself and prioritize myself as a writer and prioritize myself as an artist, and set boundaries around that. So I appreciated that. So you have to know why you're doing what you do. Why I write. I write because I know that I was born to do this. I think if not every one of these videos, I think that I have said at least in every other one that I have always known I was going to be a writer. It just was something that was always in me. I didn't know that it would be mostly poetry. I didn't know that, but I mean, I thought I would be a novelist because that's the only kind of writing that I knew that people got paid for when I was a kid. I didn't even imagine writing plays. I didn't even imagine or figure in writing for television or writing movies. I didn't even figure that. I figured I would write books, and that's what I would do. I was so I was so serious about it that I mentioned to you before that my given name is Robin, and my name is Robin Reed. My name is actually Robin Rochelle Reed, which is not the sexiest name because that's too many R's for one person. Okay, it just is. So my name is Robin Rochelle Reed, but Rochelle is spelled like Rachel. So if you don't hear me say my name is Robin Rochelle Reed, then and you only see it written, it looks like Robin Rachel Reed, which is an even worse name than Robin Rochelle Reed, right? So I remember I was very, very young. Very, very young. And I remember this day like it was yesterday. I was in a car with my mom, and I was crying real tears. And and I was mad at my mom. And I said, "Why didn't you spell my middle name right?" And so she said it is spelled right. It's spelled the way it's spelled, but it's spelled like Rachel, but it's pronounced Rochelle. It is spelled right. It's spelled how I wanted it to be spelled. And I said, "But how are people going to know?" These like real tears are just pouring out. And so I said, "But if when I'm a writer and my books are on the shelves, how are people going to know that it's Rochelle? They're going to think my name is Robin Rachel Reed." Boy, I was serious about it. And my mom, bless her heart, she was probably laughing when she looked the other way, but she answered me very calmly. Shout out to my mom. And she was like, "That's okay. You'll go on a talk show because you're going to be a very famous writer. You'll go on a talk show and you'll say, 'Hey everybody, my name is not Robin Rachel Reed. My name is Robin Rochelle Reed.'" And that calmed me a little bit. And I remember even coming back with, what if nobody sees that interview? What if they don't see it? Like, I was serious about it. Bless my fucking heart. Um, I was serious about it because I was going to be a writer. I was going to be, famous, and I didn't want people mispronouncing my middle name. um, where was I? I actually wrote notes, but where was I? Oh shit. And then I don't even use that name. How about that? So why I write? I am a writer in everything that I do. If if you check out my blogs, when I work as a home health aide, that's what I'm writing about. If you, I have one of the story times. I don't remember which one, but in the description, it's called talking about something like caring for Clara or something like that. So check that out. Not all of my clients were as crazy as Clara, but that's one client that I wrote about. But I have many, many, many clients that I wrote about. Whatever I am doing, I write about that. When I work as a cleaner, I work, if I'm cleaning a house or cleaning a business or an office or something like that, I write about that. One of my last jobs when I was in LA, I worked at the Getty Museum in Los Angeles as a custodian, which was weird because now it wasn't weird. It was a good job. It was cool. I am cleaning, and I'm around all of this really great art that sometimes I just would make up stories about the art. I would write stories about being, I could not have been further from being the artist I wanted to be in that moment. Like, I'm standing around all of this art in this museum, and my job is actually to sweep the floor. And nobody knew I was an artist. I don't really have jobs where I'm very, I talk about myself and I talk about my life, and I don't do that. I eat by myself. I don't have lunch with them people. I just don't. Them people being any of them, like nobody. I sit by myself, and I spend my little lunch break, eat my little lunch. And I'm not usually the person that people want to make friends with either. There's that. So, why do I write? I write because I'm constantly thinking about writing a story all the time. I am constantly thinking about writing a story I'm working on, or a story I want to write someday. I'm always collecting information. I am collecting phrases that I hear from other people. I love listening to people. I'm always listening, and the world, every conversation, everything that I see is just fodder for some story. I'm always thinking about it. I think about writing like people who cook think about food. Um, I don't cook like that. I don't enjoy it at all, really. I never think about it. But I know people who think like, ooh, I'm gonna add some oregano or cilantro or whatever y'all be putting in food. Um, I don't think about food like that. I know people who spend like hours and hours and hours in the kitchen. And me, I will scramble them eggs up and eat them leaning against the stove. I, but a story, I will do draft after draft after draft after draft after draft after draft. Um, yeah, so that's me. So writing is also, why do I write? Writing is also a part of my healing. Um, 3 times in my life, my adult life, I was in the psych ward in Los Angeles. And it's not a fun trip. And to say the least, and I wrote through every stay. I was if you've I'm not going to imagine that most of you have been in the psych ward. It gets a little loud sometimes. There are people expressing themselves sometimes. It's interesting. But if you are one of the quiet ones like me, they tend to give you things as reward that you're one of the quiet ones. So I always got as much paper as I wanted. I always got, they don't give you pens, but they give you like really, really small pencils. I think so you won't kill yourself. I don't know. I don't know. Stab yourself in the eye. Whatever you would do with a bigger pencil. So I always got as much paper as I wanted. I knew how to play that game. And I would write everything. There were in a couple stays I barely even ate, but I would write and write and write and write and write. So it was a part of my healing. When I have episodes of depression, I write. When I have episodes of mania, I write. In every state I'm in, I write. When I'm happy, I write. When all of my bills are paid, I write. When my bills are not paid, I write. When it is something that I, at this point, am dedicated and committed to. So you have to figure out, your whys. You also have to figure out what you'll do on the days that you don't feel like writing. Because while I write every day, there are a lot of days for me that I don't feel like it. Initially, it's like people who don't feel like cooking still cook, or they eat out. They still find a way. They still put food on the table. So I have eat out days in writing. So some days I might not sit down for an hour. I might sit down for 10 minutes. I might sit down for 13 sentences, but I'm going to put something down every day. So those are like my takeout days. So and sometimes the day might start off with me not feeling like writing, and I write through that. I write, not just write through that, but I write to it. Like, why don't I feel like writing? I don't feel like writing because I'm irritated. I don't feel like writing because I had a bad day. And I will expand and expound and go further and push further and push further and write through it. So you have to figure out what you're going to do when you have days that you don't feel like writing, because there will be a lot of those. For me, that's why I create projects. I like a project. I like a project that I like projects that last for a year. That's what I do. That's why I choose public accountability. It's why I blog. Because it's something that not only will I know that I didn't journal, the world will. And I don't have a million people reading my blog, but it's just something that I do. It's something that I like a daily record. I like that even taking on this project to talk about writing every day for a year, to tell stories every day for a whole year. I don't skip days. I don't, if I have a big day that day, I'll wake up very early in the morning. If I have a big day that day, I'll record late at night. I'm going to record. I am going to talk about it. You know, and so that's why it can't be, or it, I don't want to say can't, but money is not enough of motivation, because you won't always get money. That's what it is. The oohs and ahs can't be the motivation, because you won't always get them. Even with this project of the story times with you right now, I don't know what the end result of this will be. I don't know what it will become. I only know that I was called to do it, to create this project and do it. I only know that if you are watching the videos, that if you take notes and pull something from it, there is something to pull from every video. The oohs and ahs don't happen. I think on the first Storytime 1, I think I got about, I don't know, maybe 55 views or something like that. But since then, I don't get more than 4 or 5, which I'm not attached. Um, it's very possible that at the end of 365 videos, they will just be some kind of treasure chest for my son, who is also an incredible writer. I don't know. I don't know who will listen, who will take note, who will. I only know that it is something that I was called to do, and I was obedient to that call. So there. So, right, and inside of writing, there are other things that are also a part of writing. Reading is a part of writing. It is. If you don't have a lot of time to read a chapter a day. And that's where I am right now. I have a shitload of books. I read a chapter a day of a book that I'm reading. And then eventually that I will have finished that book. And then I will immediately pick up another book. And then I will read a chapter a day of that book. And then I will pick up another book immediately. I try not to skip days with that either. Some days I read more than a chapter, some days I don't. But I'm going to read about a chapter a day. Reading just is a part of writing. Listening is a part of writing. Listening is a part of writing. Listening to elders is a part of writing. Listening to elders was how is a big part to me. I used to love to listen to, like, listening to old people, the metaphors, baby, and like the bars, baby. It just, you know, I just like to listen. But it's important. Listening to children is helpful. Listening to children is helpful in when you want to work on your descriptive writing. Children will watch a child tell a story about a fight. And then he came and he was walking and he had his fist all balled up and he's walking slowly and slowly and you know, pow! And it's just like, it's, why wasn't I there? So just, you know, just listening will bless your life. Listening to children will bless you. Okay. Sitting with yourself and listening to yourself, sober and quiet, will help your life. Listen to that conversation with yourself, and being sober is important. Don't get high to do it. Don't smoke weed to do it. Don't take a few drinks to do it. That's not wrong. That's just a different thing. I mean, listen sober. Because what I want you to listen for doesn't so much happen when you're inebriated. I want you to listen for those times when you get sleepy, when you get irritated, when you get ready to get up, when you get, when you have to answer the phone, when you have to check your phone, when you have to get up from where you are. Sometimes it's being, when you're high, you just kind of like drift into it and like, yeah. And you see these stories. That's a different thing. But just try it. Just be sober and just sit with yourself. And it's interesting how many of us really can't sit with ourselves for any real amount of time. So check that out. One of the notes that I wrote to myself, I said, so when I feel how I feel today, which is a little worried, truthfully, a little frustrated, a little concerned, a little, it's a familiar worry. It's the same worry over rent, over money, over stuff, over stuff, over real life stuff. I start to evaluate like how I'm spending my time and my energy. Not just how, but where and with whom. The older we get, the more we know how precious time is. What are you getting out of it? I had a therapist who used to ask me that so often. I would tell her everything I did. It seemed like I would tell her about me spending time with this person or that, or doing or focusing on this or focusing on that. And she would say, well, what are you getting out of this? Because sometimes we spend energy on people and in places that aren't feeding us. We as artists can sometimes get full from our own act of pouring, if that makes sense. Our own act of telling our stories to other people and helping other people with their projects, and people will let us. There's that. People can see your light. They can see it even when you can't, especially when you can't. People can see your light, and they will eat up all of your stories, even the ones you think are boring. They will eat them up raw. Okay. And oftentimes these are oftentimes you are not being fed by these people. but they are eating from you. Yeah, these are people who are not supporting your art. These are people who are not supporting your craft. But they do, see something, and they are getting something from you, but are not giving that. And sometimes it's late in the game. It's late in the night before we look up and go, you know what? I am not getting what I am giving. And so you have to decide, you know, I could be writing these stories down. I could be cheering myself up. Because ain't we some cheerleaders? Okay? Um, and we are, because we know what it is to be misunderstood. We are because we know what it is sometimes to be the black sheep of the family. We are because we know what it is to be not appreciated, not valued. We are because we know what it is to not have someone not listen to us, not see us, not recognize us. And so we do that for people, but we got to get that we deserve these things too. We do. Um, um, it's in many cities. I know in LA for sure, and that's where I came up in the game of poetry. Like there would be so many, events where the feature, like the night, it's a poetry night, and so they would hire poets. So they not no. They would book poets and pay the band. Don't that make sense for a poetry night? That you book the poets and pay the band? No, it doesn't actually. Um, and we would get there early, and we would leave late, and we would sell our CDs if we could, or whatever merch we had if we could. But the band was leaving with money, or the whoever the person who worked the door is leaving with money, or but it's a poetry whatever. So they see our light, they know that we are bringing something to this table, but feeding us is didn't seem important, or not, sometimes not even to us, like to say like yo, you know um yeah. I could like do a whole video on that, but I won't. Maybe I will. I mean, we have a ways to go. This is Storytime 17. So what is 17 minus 365? Whatever that is, that's how far we have to go. So people, we feed with our energy and with our resources. They will watch us be hungry. They will watch us and benefit from our hustle and not support us. That will happen. And so we have to be careful to put ourselves as high priority. As high priority, because sometimes, too often, we don't. It can be quite, what's the word? It can be kind of exciting for people around you to sit at your feet or on your phone or across the dinner table from you and hear story after story about the dance you do as an artist. And that dance is a real fucking thing. And You know, like it is a dance you do to eat, literally every day, to live, to pay, you know, your rent, your mortgage, or how you support your family. And it's like exciting sometimes to them. And it's your real life. It's your real hunger. It's your real you living from um gig to gig, paycheck to paycheck, payday loan to payday loan, however you living. And they not living that way. They are not living that way. They are straight. They are straight. But they gonna listen to your story and they gonna eat that shit up. But we, you know, sometimes, and I have to be careful of this myself. Like, I am not like your fucking entertainment. I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm a real person. And and yeah. So just, you know, be careful about how much, because we get, like, if you're, it's like if we're going to give that much, if we're going to give these stories like this, give it where we can get something from it. Give it to your journal, give it to your blog, put that shit on Patreon and get paid for it. Because you just pouring it into Joe Blow, who is like being entertained by your little life, is not benefiting you, and you are not getting his or her stories. And if you are, they ain't that interesting. And you know, so what are you getting? What are you getting out of it? So, you know, so be careful while you write. I remember a long time ago I wrote this poem, and God, I wish I could remember how it began. But I know it ended with something like, if you do what you do for the money you get, then what will you do after you're paid? God, I don't, that was a dope poem, but I don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember it. But just be careful about how you spend your energy. Because it's easy to run out. It's easy to, at the end, it's easy to be the life of a party, and entertain the people of God well, and tell story after story, give advice after advice, and leave empty, and come home alone and feeling depleted sometimes, and then begin your real life the next day of you having to get up early in the morning, of you having to, as brilliant as your stories are, having to work out how you gonna make it in the month, or work out, like, you know, it's tiring. The dance is tiring. The dance is tiring. I said in another video that I was talking to the colleague, a woman in LA, an LA poet, who is godmother to many of us. And I said one time to her, I said, you know, why do we, as artists, why do we go through the things that we go through? Why do we live the lives we live? And she said, because you'll tell it. You'll tell it. And somebody needs to hear it. And maybe. But we need to benefit from our stories. We need to write these stories down. We need to document these very interesting and layered and textured lives that we live. We need to document them. Others are watching, and others will tell our delicious stories and benefit from them and not give you a goddamn thing. So you be careful out there with your energy, with your talent, with you, my loves, with you. We're there again. An hour goes by so fast. Thank you for being here. I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but I'm going to show up tomorrow. And I hope that you will too. Enjoy your nights, my friend. Enjoy. Peace.